Neil and I were just talking about how easy our parents had it raising us. I mean, there weren't a lot of huge crises, and they really did let us do whatever we wanted. Go play, come home, bye, right? And we've got a lot more stuff to worry about than than they did.
Was this sort of like an existential conversation, or was this very targeted about your specific circumstance that you all share together in parenting?
I think just a wider picture about thinking about generations. Because I heard a conversation not too long ago on a podcast too about how our generation, you, me, Neil, our age, just the amount of stuff that we've witnessed and have gone through in our lifetime. Like most people have one or two of those, they don't have global pandemic and 9/11 and war and, like all of these things happening in one lifetime like we have.
Yeah. Man, it really does make you appreciate the time that we have. And for me, when I really start getting existential, I think, man, I have all these goals for my life, but I don't know how to market them. Do you ever feel that way?
You want to market your goals?
No, I just don't. Yeah, I want to market my goals. That's how bad I am. I don't even know how to talk about how marketing relates to my goals. Look, I'm trying to ease us into talking about something that people might want to listen to.
Gotcha. Let's talk about marketing goals.
Oh, that was an easy intro for you to do.
I think...
hey, let's talk about marketing goals.
Let's just do it.
Hey, welcome to Zig When They Zag, the podcast where Jessica just says what they're going to talk about, and then they talk about it.
And then they start doing it. It's amazing. So we wanted to talk about marketing goals today because I think it's been pretty obvious with you probably working so close with our clients the last year, how most of our clients haven't even considered defining what they're trying to get out of marketing. They may know, if we're lucky, what they're trying to achieve business-wise, but they don't realize that translates to marketing goals.
Yeah, and I think the timing of it too is really important because we are still at the beginning of the year. It's 2021 for all of the historians who are looking back on this. We survived the apocalypse of 2020 and we are still marketing, if anyone can hear us. But really, it's a moment in, I think, the business culture where stability is hopefully reemerging, and I don't believe that the optimism that has driven growth in this country is waning at all. And so really, how do you take an intentional approach to this year, where last year was, let's make sure we can survive and pivot and do what's necessary to deal with all that's going on. Now it's how do we translate what we hope to get out of this year into marketing goals? Because you're absolutely right that the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges for us is how do we know that what we're doing is successful? And if you don't understand what your goals translate into marketing goals, we're not going to be able to really interpret the performance of what happens.
Yeah, so that's true for small businesses that hire companies to help them. And it's true for big businesses that maybe never go through the trouble of defining, like, this division of our company needs to be responsible for this, and this is how it contributes to our overall strategy. Bigger companies tend to be a little bit better at doing it, but it doesn't mean that they stop to think specifically about each function of the company and how it's supposed to be delivering on something.
So maybe for the sake of this conversation, since I think we can go 30,000 feet down to 3 feet, why don't we start up high? You've worked with over 300 clients and of all shapes and sizes. How do we start that conversation with our clients? What's the entry point in even beginning to discuss it with them?
Yeah, well, usually we'll start with, what are you trying to achieve with your business this year? Because most people know how to answer that question, hopefully,
Yeah, hopefully.
um, and obviously, if they're reaching out to us, then growth is part of their equation with that bigger picture.
Yeah.
But for them, defining how that works in marketing is really difficult because you have to have a pretty good understanding of all the tactical pieces that go into marketing to kind of meet where business goals and marketing goals is kind of the middle of that, right?
Mhm.
So without having a good understanding of all the tools and the tactics behind it, it's hard for someone to think, well, this goal means this in terms of marketing goals. So it's usually where the conversation starts, just with solid business goals. Do you find that to be true when you're talking to clients that contact us? Isn't that one of the first
Yeah.
things you ask when you talk to them on the
I
phone?
mean, it is. It's really just trying to listen and understand kind of what the challenges that they're facing, right? Because the we do two things for clients to facilitate growth. One is we put together the machine that's actually going to drive it, right? That's going to bring the audience to you to build that brand awareness, to
Mm-hmm.
pre-qualify and fill in the sales pipeline, right? Like to build out the digital ecosystem. But the real challenge is that in growth is the business leader you are at the start of this year is not the same business leader you're going to be at the end of this year. And so
Mm-hmm.
for us, it's how do we get you there as well as building out these systems so that 6 months from now, a year from now, it's not just, oh great, marketing's going, but I still have no idea what it should be doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
leveling up that knowledge too and that confidence as a business leader to know how this fits in with the rest of the things that you do to really drive value in the company. So
Yeah.
it's
And
definitely a key thing.
I think one of the pieces of that too that's important to point out is we want the owner or the operator of the business to understand that marketing is just a piece of it, right? So those goals aren't achieved by marketing alone. So it's able to say like this is what the marketing piece should do to contribute to this. But there's
Yeah.
also a sales piece, there's a planning piece, a business development piece, whatever you want to call it. There's so many other pieces to make it go. And I want them to be able to recognize like this is just a slice of it, and this is what it looks like from our end.
Yeah. So as a CEO, what are some of your favorite business goals that we get to help contribute to
Let's
for
see.
our
We had one
clients?
client. Yeah, it's like we're gonna grow by 10 million in 7 years. There's some, the good businesses that have really big, audacious, and specific growth goals. Those are
Hmm.
great to work with. Um, we have some that come in and say my leads are completely dependent on this single channel and we need to diversify where our sales come from. That's another common one. Another one might be more than 50% of our business comes from one giant enterprise client, and that
Yeah.
also scares us, and we need to diversify our client base. That's good. Um, some of them are the growth goal might be really minimal, but it's they have so limited amount in little resources that they don't want to waste their time on bad leads. So they're trying to scale up the kind of customer they're getting so that they
Hmm.
don't have to scale and go wider with their sales team, right? So
Yeah.
those are kind of the more common ones I think we hear on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah. And those leads generate revenue, right? So that's a pretty
Hmm.
obvious tie to marketing to business goal. What about
Hmm.
non-revenue goals? Like how else does marketing contribute in terms of what types of goals can we help with? Business goals can we help with?
Yeah, that's a good one. So if one of their goals might be that leveling up the kind of client they get, and I feel like maybe one out of three people that we talk to at businesses are really focused on that, right? They just don't want to waste any more time here. They want their transactions to be bigger. They know
Hmm.
what kind of client they want and they're not getting it. And we always say, well, that's not just really good digital advertising. That's brand. And there's something off about your brand that we need to switch or change. The website needs to reflect it. And then you're going to start getting the kind of leads that you want to get. So they have to go through the process of that with us. And we've talked about it a bunch in this series of content, but measuring the quality of lead can be tied back to how well the branding is working. And that's one that is measurable, but takes extra time and attention to kind of see it play out.
Yeah. And just as a reminder for all the folks out there, when we talk about brand, we talk about everything that sets the expectation of what an experience with your company is going to be like before they actually have that experience. And so a lot of people think brand equals logo, or brand equals trademark, or brand even equals, spokesperson or the little catchphrase. But it's really so much more. And so I think that's a great point, Jessica, that, doing the pre-work in the brand phase is critical, because that's going to attract and resonate with a certain type of audience, which means doing the pre-work in the audience phase.
Yeah.
So yeah, right. I like that.
The other one that comes up a lot might be if there's a highly competitive market. And so maybe it's home services, and there's a million of a certain kind of service company to pick from. And really the way you win in those highly competitive markets is by building brand equity, which is really hard to measure. But there's some things with like website traffic, brand mentions, referrals, reviews, things like that that kind of add up to increasing your market share and brand equity among your client base.
Yeah.
Because home service is like the perfect example, because you just don't need a plumber all the time. But when you do, you don't want to start from scratch. You want to pick the one you've probably already heard of, that your neighbors have been recommending, or that you see the trucks everywhere, or their ads are always playing and you kind of like the persona behind those commercials, Yeah. And so that's another one that takes time to build, that is a really good way to go about marketing in some competitive work.
I just want to pause for a second and apologize to our listeners out there. Jessica has not seen our demographics report, and so obviously is not aware that the majority of these listeners and viewers are people who do need a plumber all the time, like myself. We value you. We really appreciate who you are, and that you single-handedly are keeping the plumbing industry afloat. So just
I don't
apologies.
know what that says about Mr. Hot Dog, our avatar. Let's not go there. But I think when you... Oh, go ahead.
Well, so you're absolutely right. I'll let you recover while I take... The key, and again, the key is to put yourself in the mind of your customer. If I need a plumber, it's usually an emergency. And so I'm going to top of mind first, or I'm going to do a general search. And I have no way of qualifying what a good experience is, but what I need is a good experience. I need someone who's knowledgeable, available, and responsible. And so I will value the things that contribute to that brand, like awareness, like the jingle that's going to stick in your head. There's a local company that advertises on the radio, and I was listening this morning. The spot was talking about the story of how they met. And I love it because they're building the brand of the owners. Yeah. And I'm like invested in their story, even though I lied. I actually don't hire a plumber.
And you kind of want them to be the ones that show up at the house when you, when you call.
And then I would be disappointed when it's, Neil, the plumber. But the point is that those things, right? Like the recommendation from a friend, the reviews on a website, those things don't translate to immediate sales. But the bad things are it's just the friction that gets in the way of good sales. And so you're right, brand is an important marketing goal too.
I think to help the conversation a little bit too, I've got some ideas of what make bad marketing goals. That way people can see it's it's different than what we're discussing here, right? So, examples of good goals, just to kind of summarize what we've been talking about: building brand equity, increasing the value of a lead or the quality of a lead, increasing leads could be one, of
Yeah.
course, diversifying leads, or it could be,
Account
building up
growth
the,
is a good one too.
yeah,
We love marketing to your existing customers because you've already
yeah,
paid to acquire them. So it's the most profitable set of customers
that's,
that you have. So a lot of people
that's
don't think about marketing after the sale,
hmm
but it is definitely a key one too.
yeah. So those are good marketing goals, and kind of based on what your problem or opportunities are with your company. Kind of pick from a basket of those things, and those are good. And then you look at tactical things and figure out how can you do those things through tactics, right?
Yeah.
What we get a lot of people who want to come in and they think their marketing goals are, I want to be number one on Google,
Oh, who
or I
doesn't?
want 10,000 Instagram followers. They think those are marketing goals.
Yeah,
They're
let me
not.
tell you from personal experience, it's more trouble than it's worth being insta famous.
Oh, yeah.
I had like 78 people like a post once. It was pretty great. Anyway,
This is a pretty exciting day, right?
yeah,
My
it was.
my business hero Marcus Lemonis, he once liked one of my tweets, and I
Oh,
like screenshot it. It was a great day for me.
I met Dr. Ruth once. It has nothing to do with this conversation, but it's honestly one of the best things that ever happened to me in my life. If y'all don't know who Dr. Ruth is, Google her. It's hilarious.
We'll have to do
Anyway,
another episode where we just talk about all the times we met
where we
people.
name drop.
uh, so we get people who do call us, and they'll say, "I think this is a good example." One of our favorite customers is a IT company. They actually help with our IT, and he emailed and he said, I know we've been doing some campaigns on social media. I haven't really gotten any leads from that. I think I want to move into SEO. And we talk, and I said, cool, yeah, let's set up a time to talk. We've been doing brand building for you. It sounds like you want lead generation, which is different, and we can do a whole episode about that later. Um, but I want to figure out what your goals are and decide if SEO is actually the thing that you need, right?
Yeah,
So he ended up coming in, and I was like, so why SEO? And he was like, well, I mean, I think if we ranked better, we'd probably get more customers. But based on your conversation, it sounds like we probably need to think about lead gen marketing and what goes into that. I was like, yeah, it's different. We can do SEO, and that
yeah,
should be part of your overall plan. But ranking high on Google, like why? Like what are you really trying to get out of that? And there are other ways to get that faster, with a more comprehensive, holistic approach.
yeah.
So that's what he
No,
and I talked about, the difference there.
I love that. I love too just um the question behind the question, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it is there are so many companies out there who would just be like, yeah, you need to do SEO and
Mm-hmm.
while we're at it, let's upsell you on this. And for me, especially like there's so much waste in how people help people do marketing. It's like, no, let's again, this is, I think, a key point is why we're having this specific conversation is
Mm-hmm.
what are we trying to do? Right. Because my success is really tied to those things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to trust us as a partner, if we're going to be able to be here a year from now and your business is still in existence, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a little selfish on our part. We want our customers to be around.
Yeah.
Let's really figure out and prioritize what's important.
Yeah.
And, you know, the vanity metrics, like there is a place for it. We're happy to talk about it. But there's a reason why they're called vanity metrics. We would much rather
Mm-hmm.
look at, all right, what are the goals? what are the leading indicators of performance? What do we need to do? And strategize around that. Let's work it out up front so that you have a year plus of targeted, focused performance rather than waiting 2 years and being like, I don't know that this is working.
That's right. Yeah. And I think a good marketing plan is your business goals. And then we say, here's the 3 marketing goals that we think will help you achieve that growth in your business goal. And underneath those goals, we can identify all the different marketing metrics that we think we could measure for that. And then you work into how do we affect the metrics, right? So traffic growth to the website might fall under one of these things. And then you can think about how you're going to go about it. But so many people go about the thing. They don't know what they're measuring, what success is supposed to look like, because they went about it the wrong way. And you're right, lots of marketing companies call businesses and just sell them on these kind of one-off tactics. And while they're probably need to be in the plan somewhere, people sign up for it not knowing what it's supposed to mean or look like when it's working.
Yeah. So. And that's the thing. Like you can have, 100, 200% growth in website visits. And if they're not spending any time on the site, if they're not visiting multiple pages, like if they're coming in and bouncing, you're looking at the wrong thing. And so, it really is key to know and define beforehand is what I'm hearing. What are we trying to accomplish? And then within that, what are some of the specific ways marketing contributes to that? What are the marketing goals? And
That's right.
Let's follow up on this one because I think there's more to talk about because we didn't even really talk about how that next layer of what the difference is really between kind of those things and what that looks like. So
that sounds
future
good.
episode. These things write themselves.
They really do. Thanks, Kevin. This was fun.
Yeah, it was. It really was. I had a lot of fun. I have to go call a plumber now, if you'll excuse me. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.